This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it looks like I am late to a pool party. We have 3 male elephants thoroughly enjoying themselves at Gowrie Dam, and I am not enjoying myself as I am jealous and I wish I was in there with them. But glad to have you all here because it's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. Always a pleasure to have you here with us, and what a great start. It's been a toasty day, 32 degrees Celsius and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, that's exactly why the elephants are here. They are cooling down and thoroughly, thoroughly enjoying themselves. So we've been complaining about the rain so much, so I'm not going to complain about the sun. Too much, at least. My name is Lauren, and I do have Simon once again with me on camera. And we have a big plan for today. I'm going to tell you in just a moment, but first I must remind you that we're live and you can talk to us. Use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat. And if you're under the age of 18, you can just send your questions through on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and we prioritise you. Do not worry. Or you can actually register on the Wild Earth website. Head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Oh, can you hear that? They're rumbling at one another. Boys will always be boys. But yes, I'm going to head into Buffelshoek today. The dogs are there somewhere, the Talamatis are there somewhere, but I'm after something a little bit different that I have been desperately trying to show everyone for a long time now. So I'm going to try and leave it a surprise. I might not get lucky, but I can assure you I'm going to put my 100% effort into it. We had a very lucky morning, Simon and I, and I'm hoping that the luck will continue into the afternoon. And that is all I'm going to say. Are you finished now, boys? It looks like an older one at the back and two slightly younger ones at the front. The one at the back looks much bigger. So this could be an older bull with his Ascaris, which makes absolutely sense. They will learn from him. He will teach them lots of things about being a male elephant, navigating the landscape, cultural knowledge, environmental knowledge. And they will protect him. They offer him protection. Instead of being a nomad out here, they will offer him a little bit of protection. So it's a lovely little bachelor herd made up of different age groups. And elephant bulls, older bulls, are just as important as the matriarch. They have a role to play, but for the boys. And fighting's all part of it. It's all part of the experience. Not fighting, play fighting, sorry. Wrong terminology there. It's all part of developing into an elephant bull. So his presence, if he stays with them, the older bull's presence will greatly influence the sort of life path that these younger bulls are going to carve out. It'll make a huge impact on their life and their fitness and their survival rate. That's just another factor we call these older bulls gentlemen. Not only are they a lot more gentle, but they're fundamental in elephant societies. The younger ones are going back in. Too much fun. Don't want to leave the water. Almost completely submerged, you see that? That part of the dam must be quite deep. The older bull's been the sensible one, and it's the two younger ones coming in to play. Play some more. I remember having a paddling pool when I was younger, and it was just, the best days of your life. I could only use it for about 2 weeks of the year in Scotland, but you know, those were the best days. Sharon, that's a good question. because there's sort of recent science into elephant skin and the importance of the role it plays in cooling an elephant down, which is exactly why it's wrinkly. And I'm not actually sure how long it holds it for. I know that it allows anywhere, depending on the age of the elephant, anywhere between 5 to 10 times more water retention than on a flat surface. But after a while, next to the elephant's body heat and the ambient heat, which is incredible today, it's eventually going to dry out. So I don't think it will last too long. Being sort of held in the wrinkles, you're against the body heat of the mammal as well. Although an elephant's skin is 4 centimeters thick, to be fair. But I'm actually not sure, but that's a really good question. Because the wrinkles look very random, shall we say, like it's just aged skin, like what happens to humans, but it's actually not. It's a very sort of intricate network of minuscule interconnected crevices, if you like. And it's not random at all. They're deeply sculptured into an elephant's body for the purpose of losing heat, for the purpose of holding water, holes in mud in an effort to lose heat. It's millions and millions of little channels. They don't shed their skin as well, and that's exactly how the channels develop. But very good question. I'm really not sure. I just wouldn't imagine it would be too long, especially in this heat. And African elephants have far more wrinkles than do Asian elephants. And it's to do with the environment, the hot African savanna. They need more wrinkles to cool down. So I'm going to sit and enjoy this pool party, and we're going to send you across to another location to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to And Beyond Panda Private Game Reserve. We've managed to catch up with those 5 young cheetah that you saw the other day with Pete feeding on that impala. And the one looking at us now with his very content look on his face, with a belly rather full, still obviously from that meal that they had the other day, and panting relatively hard as well, so just trying to help digest that food. But the 5 of them all tucked in the shade of a quarry at the moment. My name is Matt, and behind the camera we've got Owen this afternoon. And yeah, today has been quite a hot day here in Zululand, and the 5 of them are in the shade of that tree, just over to our left-hand side. Now, with the head that was up, is now flat on the ground. So I think just enjoying the cooler weather. There is a bit of a breeze blowing, so the 5 of them in what looks to be quite a shady patch off to our left-hand side. You can see the white underbelly of one of the other ones. The one has just stuck its head up, just having a scan around. A couple of ear twitches, and I'm not sure if you can see all of them. I can only count 4 from where I am here, but there are all 5 of them in that little spot there. On our way in, we saw quite a few herds of impala. You can hear a rattling testicular in the background going absolutely berserk, as they normally do. But just watching them, I don't think we'll see any movement out of them for the sort of imminent future. They all look really cozy where they are. Heads up every so often, just scanning around, tail flicks and ear twitches. There must be those little flies that are biting and irritating them around there. But I definitely think I'll spend a little bit of time with them this afternoon to see if they do decide to get up at some stage. They might, now that it's cooler, they might head out into the open and rest out in the open. No real need for them to be tucked into the shade anymore. But very well camouflaged and well hidden where they are there. It's just really the whites of their underbellies that you might see from the road. If anything, we knew they were here from the morning game drive. So I had to do a little bit of digging in terms of finding them again in the afternoon now. But the one's head was up and the other's underbelly was stuck out like a sore thumb where they were. So that helped us quite a bit in finding them again this afternoon. But amazing to see a couple of days later after those full meals just how full their bellies actually are. And if not this afternoon, I definitely think tomorrow the five of them will be in need of a meal again. Maybe even the next day, but the one who's super well camouflaged in the middle, sitting with its head up, its eyes are closed. Now we've got a little bit of movement from the one second to the left. Maybe just a bit of a reshuffle. You can see the white tip of its tail there, quite busy as it lies in the shade. As opposed to the other one lying with its head up, but eyes closed. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to sit here for a bit and see if anything changes. Quite a few birds, well, mostly just the rattling testicular that I can hear for now, and that you can hopefully hear from where you are, chirping away in the distance. And that's one bird that, if it's raining, snowing, you name it, it never keeps quiet. An unmistakable call of the rattling testicular. Minute little birds. I'm just wondering now, if I look in the vicinity that it's calling from, if I can see it up top of one of these little bushes in front of us. I actually think I can. If I ask you, Owen, directly in front of us, there's that very dark green bush, or the three bushes in front of us. That's the one right in the middle. Right up top there are the two rattling testiculars. You got him there. Oh, off he flies as we speak. But there are a couple of them flying around there now that you can see. And those, you know, if we hear or up at one of the other guides, you'll often hear them calling in the background. And now you know who the culprit is. But yeah, I'm going to stick around with these cheetah and we're going to head across to Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve here in Savisent, Lowerfield. It's amazing what we got here right now. Dingane again. My name is Andrew. On camera, I have Davi. Hello. Quite actually brilliant day though. The sun is opened. And then we have to follow up on Dingane. Find him lying in this it's actually a very small shed for him to be, but I think it's a very much chosen spot. He loves it so much. So he's probably been here for a while since it's been actually a very hot day today. Temperature of 32 degrees 90 Fahrenheit, where this morning it was actually less hotter when we left him moving these directions. But then he didn't move far away because of then it was picking up heat though. And then as we drove along the road, we just saw a little ear sticking out in these tall grasses, so we know it's him. And it's a big male though. Looking at the size, where the difference between a male and a female, where always male leopard in size is quite bigger. The head, the body structure, it's always so big, where females are a lot smaller. So this afternoon we're happy to take your questions, answer your question. You can send us through your questions or register on the Wild Earth website, and then you head over to live Safari page and you can submit your question there, and then we can take it from there. So I'm going to stay put here with your beautiful male Tingane, and I'm going to send you over Bradfield with their intro.
Well, it's a wonderful day here at Pridelands. It's very green, and you might even see an elephant or two moving through the bushes. But we will have a closer look at them once they settle on down for the afternoon, as they are in a little bit of a hurry. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we are here, like I said, at Pridelands, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park, although it's quite far that way, but essentially you can get there. We've got an entire herd of elephants this afternoon. What a fitting way to start my first drive back, and I believe that the elephant sightings have been spectacular. Ooh. Much chatter amongst the gentle giants this afternoon. Did you hear that rumbling? It was quite interesting. It was two cows that were communicating with one another, and both of them tensed up quite a bit, lifted their heads, ears flared out, and that cow was pushing quite a few others from the back, encouraging them to move off to the... Oh, hello. Hi, girl. Just watch this cow. It's okay. Settle. I think that this might be the herd with the leucistic elephant bull. If I'm not mistaken, I think that female, she had a very prominent tear in her right ear, and I think I remember her from just when I went on leave. We had a beautiful encounter with that leucistic elephant bull, that youngster, and they're quite a big breeding herd. We also had such a nice sighting with the new calf that's in this herd, so we'll try and catch up with them. They are moving all around us, but I was just saying to Gert, I cannot believe how dense the vegetation has got. I mean, I know there's been an exceptional amount of rain over the last week, or maybe not the last week, but maybe the last 10 days is better, and wow, the grasses are really just taking over, and all the bushes have filled out really, really nicely. You can see she's just having a bit of a scratch. There's a big bull that's also moving in quite quickly. You won't be able to see him, but I wonder if it's him that's encouraging the cows to behave in this manner. But we're going to head up a little bit further down the road to catch the rest of the herd. Off you go all the way to the Kalahari to see who is joining you this afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome. Dumela Mokgetse Matswalu. Welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. My name is Kyle, and behind camera is Craig. I'm just repositioning us very quickly to see these magnificent and wonderful creatures. As we wanted to say hello, they moved off. We've bumped into this lovely group of male giraffe, and we thought we'd just stop and
Hi there. Sorry, Tswalu. So we're still here with our Tingana, but since then he fled. So it's only the ears that's twitching, just because of maybe a little bit of the flies and the things around him. As you can see how he's trying to wipe his face, but using his paw. But this is not all about waking up for now, I think. I'm sure until he moves again, this is when maybe it's cool, temperature low down a bit, then he's going to start make his way to maybe a drink and start making his plan of a night. And once he does that, getting mobile, and this is all about maybe hunting. I saw this morning he was very hungry, and I don't think he actually managed to kill anything. So we're gonna check a few dams here, see if there's anything around here, and we'll always come to visit him just before he moves. Hopefully he stay around for us.
My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced, and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So we've managed to catch up with the herd. However, now they're sprinting off into the distance. Like I was saying to you earlier, there was a relatively large bull, not one of the biggest bulls that we've shown you. And he's caused quite a stir. For a moment, well not for a moment, a couple of minutes they were stood quietly out on the road. And of course now they're marching on down the road. So we're going to have to pick up the pace and follow them, as the dense vegetation doesn't allow for us to see through them. Or through it, sorry, as we were just a few weeks ago. There's just one elephant stopping to browse. But they've definitely settled down. They're not as vocal as they were. It's like they came to terms with the big bull being through. He stopped being quite boisterous and pushing the youngsters around. That's good. Let's just drive down the road a little bit because they're all gone now. It's a massive herd of elephants. So I think if we can get them out in the open, we will find that leucistic bull, and I definitely think we'll see the little elephant calf too. This is somewhere around here. So there's most of the cows just in front of us. A couple of youngsters having a tussle. Don't go in there. Come back. Now it was only a matter of time before someone asked about Susan, my favorite elephant. Let's watch these two. Sorry, let me try and level the car for you. So Sonia, no, since I've been back, I'm going to just relax nicely like this, comfortable. I haven't seen Susan yet. But I'm sure she will make an appearance at some point. We'll keep an eye out for her. She won't be with this herd, however. So we'll have a look. It's always difficult when you come back to work to try and figure out the animals' movements and what their patterns are, because they do change. Especially in an area like this, it can be quite seasonal, and even to the point where all the animals like to follow the rain. So if there's been big rains here around Pridelands, which we had a little while ago, we're going to find lots of animals coming about, because you can see how lush the grass is, and we were talking about how bushy the trees have become, and it'll give some other areas an opportunity to just sort of stabilize and rehabilitate. And then, of course, after the next rains, wherever they may be, the animals will start slowly moving in that direction. Quite awesome how they do that. Now what they're doing is exactly what I didn't want them to do, is because if they carry on heading through to that drainage line, we're not going to see them, and there's no real roads that we can follow them. But you see that bull at the back, she is flapping its ears quite a bit, so it is warm, so it makes sense to go down underneath all the big marula trees and scotias and jackalberries and things like that line that drainage line. It's also lovely and low-lying and nice and cool. There won't have to be much flapping of the ears.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ambient Pinda. I've just now seen an impala off to our left-hand side, just the back of what looks like quite a young individual, which, if spotted by one of these 5 youngsters, might end up being that something happens. I don't want to speak too soon, but that impala has looked at us a couple of times. I don't think it would have seen the cheetah just yet, but maybe just the fact that the car is here, just, keeping a watch out on us. But where there's one that size, I'm quite certain there are a couple more. Maybe just standing on the protected side, wind-wise, of that little area where they are. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit more now as well. There's a distant rumble of some thunder in the background. We're in much need of some rain out here, so it would be more than welcome. It would make for an interesting afternoon for the cheetah. Obviously masks their movements if they do decide to move. It still is relatively early in the afternoon and nice and cool now, so if they did want to hunt, they could look to do so now. Although I don't think that will happen with those full bellies that you see. Very interested to see what happens with that impala now, as there's a bit of a gust of wind, is even more vigilant than before. But it looks like a lamb that was probably born a couple of weeks ago, November, December time, a month or 2 ago, just because of its size. And in this area as well, there are a couple of watering holes with some quite steep drainage lines that run below or on the backside of them. So really good vegetation for things like leopard as well. So yeah, we'll sit here and see if anything happens. Or maybe we go in search of one of the other cats, but we're going to head off to Twalu.
All right, let's try this again. Welcome to Twalu. We have just located a little meerkat, and looking at his behavior, it looks like he is looking for his buddies. It looks like he is trying to locate the rest of the colony. You can see how he's moving and he's looking. He came right in front of the vehicle, not bothered one bit about us. I think he's actually going to start climbing in the tree there. But just from his behavior, it looks like he is trying to locate his colony members. So there could be a little predator in the area that disturbed them, and they all went in different directions. And now is the difficult task of trying to locate individuals through this long, lush grass. Let's pull forward a little bit, Craig. Let's see if we can get him. Oh, here he goes there. So watch his behavior. He'll walk a couple of meters and then he'll stand up and he'll be looking. He's looking very, very carefully. He's trying to pick up on something. And it's unusual to see a meerkat by itself because it's very dangerous to be out here on your ace. You want to be with members of your group. Where is he gone? And just to let everyone know of our POA for this afternoon, we are en route to the location of these tracks. LT, which colony could he be from? I think this is an individual that's on the outskirts of the habituated or more comfortable colonies that we visit here in Tswalu. So, and I think with his behavior, I think he's seen vehicles once or twice. That is why I think he's so relaxed. But he's not one of the individuals that we visit on a regular basis. You got him. And he's a magician as well, because he has made himself disappear. Oh, there he is on the tree. Now he's Spider-Man. But the behavior, he is definitely looking for members of his colony. Oh, there he comes. So he's trying to gain a bit of height. Obviously, with the growth that we have now from the blessed rains, it's very thick in terms of the grass itself. So, a little meerkat, your short height, you are really at a disadvantage right now. Look at that. They'll use termite mounds, they'll use logs, they'll use trees like this, shrubs, to gain a bit of height so that they can see a bit further. He doesn't know how to get down. So watching him go up, in my experience, they are fairly skillful individuals going up a tree or a structure, but coming down is always a comical scene. I think he has made his way down, but no, yeah. There we go. You can see his tail is flat, so it shows you that he's not moving with other individuals, because if he was moving with friends, his tail would be upright, erect. The tails are used as visual cues. Okay. I don't see any other little meerchaps around here. Into the distance he goes. So we aren't going to go any further after him. We're just on a set of off-road tracks here, and we are going into an area where these cheetah tracks were left from this morning. And what we're going to do is we're going to locate the tracks, and from there we're going to try and see if we can narrow down on the exact location of these wonderful animals. And then hopefully with these beautiful overcast conditions for this afternoon, we will spend some time with them and see what they do. And it's such a beautiful afternoon at that. But what we're going to do for now is we're going to send you over to Andrew, and we'll see you shortly.
Thanks, Carl. Such an amazing view over here where we stand right now, looking at the beautiful of the biggest mountain far in the distance, west from this reserve, where it's one of the mountains that link all the way to Lesotho. And this is actually part of a Drakensberg mountain. And just remind me of how when we had a cloud for the past days and we didn't see anything like that. But all just come out beautiful clearly because of the skies that is clearly and very much beautiful sky there, as you can see the clouds right above it.
I wanted to let you know there's a buffalo. Whereabouts?
So on top of that mountain, this is where the old receivers or internet, connect, towers placed, because it's too high, so we're able to supply quite a lot of, cities and all of that surrounding area. Linda, you're right. Totally 100% right. It's such a beautiful view from here. It looks closer, isn't it? But, it's quite far from here. It would probably take us about nearly maybe 2 hours to drive from this place. This is where when you're near it, when you look at it, you look up this height, sky almost, because it's so tall, big mountain there. So we're gonna carry on search. Hopefully we found something in this hut. I'm going to be sending you over to Pinda.
Hello everybody. Who can tell me which one of these cheetah has gotten up and moved? Out of everybody watching, if all of you said not one, you are absolutely correct. Not one of them has gotten up at all since we've been here to move, but I think that's just because of that full meal. They're obviously not quite as big as an adult just yet, so maybe don't require as much food from that impala that they managed to catch the other day that you saw with Pete. But with all relatively full belly, still panting relatively heavily as well, I think they will probably remain in the same spot this afternoon and this evening. And then maybe first thing tomorrow morning, it might be worth us coming back to have a look at what they've gotten up to, or what they're getting up to, better yet, because we'll be here quite early. Those impala that we saw earlier have since moved off as well. No signs of them coming to wake this lot up, but that's okay. I believe there was a pride of lions quite close to one of the lodges here, so we might head off and see if we can't find them. Now that it's nice and cool, they might be out and about, or in the open at least, and maybe looking for something to do, because like these 5, there are also 5 youngsters who are about the same age as these cheetah, actually about 9-10 months old, but substantially bigger already, and they require quite a bit more food than these chaps, so it might be worth seeing if we can't find them, I think, at some stage. But for now, because there's not much movement out of them, I'm going to leave them in peace to enjoy the afternoon peace and quiet without me having to interrupt their sleep, and we're going to head off to Pridelands, who have got a herd of elephants.
So, finally, actually it didn't take as long as we thought it was going to take, but the elephants have made it to these little mud wallows. I got out of the car, prepared a tracking segment, was so excited, and then Gert went, the elephants are behind you, Taylor. And I went, oh, well, that's disappointing, but in a good way. Can you be disappointed in a good way? Anyways, 2021 is the year of anything. Right, so it's the same herd. Some of them, unfortunately, have already had a mud wallow, but there are lots of little elephants here, and they haven't quite, or they don't quite understand the concept, I suppose, of conserving energy. So even though a lot of them had mud bathed already, hopefully some more muddy water will tempt them to dive on in. The other thing that Gert and I have noticed is all the little elephants are missing their tails. Okay, well, not all of them, I say that, but I meant, like, there's 3 little elephants that are missing their tails, and one of them looks like it's quite fresh, unless it is just rubbed up against something or it's been a bit of rough and tumble amongst the other young calves and has opened up a wound. Now, in an area like this in the Sabi Sands, so that little one, as soon as it comes closer, you'll see that it's actually missing its tail. It would probably be from something like hyenas. That's normally the main cause, maybe even lions, but I haven't really heard of the lions chasing elephants around in this area. It's not quite common in this part of South Africa, but hyenas definitely can be a bit of a nuisance, and there are plenty of them around. But there you can see the little stubby tail, and I would not wish losing a tail upon my worst enemy if you were living out in the wilderness like this, because a fly swatter is so important. Anyways, it's not really going to know life any different. And so young, will pretty much live its entire life without a tail, unfortunately. But there's a couple of them, so that's unfortunate. Hello, girl. No, not girl, young boy. My bad. I've been out the bush for 2.5 weeks. Now, Fiona, it's almost impossible to say how many elephants live on Pridelands, and the reason why I say this is because it's an open ecosystem. So Pridelands is actually open all the way to the Kruger National Park, and if you carry on going sort of east, you'll eventually get to Mozambique. So these elephants can not just cross and move around within South Africa, but they can also go all the way to another country, which is quite cool. I think the population of elephants in Pridelands is exceptionally high from what you would normally see, but that's also because this used to be a fenced-off reserve, and only for the last few years have the fences been dropped. So you can imagine an elephant-free reserve for its entirety, well, not entirety, because at one point there would have been elephants roaming here before humans inhabited this area and put up fences, but all the vegetation is in really good nick, and there's lots of favorable trees that in areas where elephants were able to move through freely have probably eaten already. So the food load is quite high in this area. So we very rarely go a day without seeing a big herd of elephants. And I think that's why we constantly see the same breeding herds too, is because they're like, well, what's the point? We don't need to travel big distances. There's water here. There's so much food. You know, we just do a quick loop up into Baluli and into Jajani, maybe visit the Olifants River, and then they come back. I mean, there's one herd with a female I was telling you about a few weeks ago, Masana. She's got a collar around her, or on her, that has been used to gather data by Elephants Alive, and the last time I heard, she was on thorny bush. So, as the crow flies in the direction that the elephants would walk, it's not too far. It was quite funny. She actually, from the map that I briefly saw, it looked like she was hugging the fence lines and walking around the perimeters of the reserves until she got into thorny bush. So it's quite interesting. So I don't know, but I would say there's, on a really day where there's an exceptional amount of elephants, maybe close to 100 elephants on the property at one go, but probably more around 80. Remember, there's big bachelor herds, so we'll see them coming through regularly, going towards Ndlovu Dam, going to Leopard Dam, or Leopard Dam is just to the west of us now, and these elephants are heading in the direction of HQ Pan. So that's where they're going, and I think they'll be quite happy to have a drink. That is the only pumped watering hole that we have on Pridelands, and it's an old reservoir that gets filled. I'm stumbling because I've forgotten how to talk about wildlife. It's amazing. But after a little while, as Pridelands constantly keeps rehabilitating this land and removing old fence posts and all these types of things that accumulate on farms, including concrete reservoirs, we've seen a few of them, they will all go. And then I don't know if we'll have any pump water, and it'll all just fill up naturally from the rain. But from our elephants, off you go to some that have already made it to a watering hole and have dived in head first.
This is another pool party I was not invited to. I'm a little bit offended, but it's okay. We're at Inyala Dam in Buffelshoek. And this herd, there was a lot more in the water just a few minutes ago, but still they are just having, well, the best time. I mean, why wouldn't you? The big teeth of Africa, Loxodonta africana. That's the savanna elephant, at least. You also get the forest elephant. And you'll find them around a sort of central African belt, a separate species. And they're said to be one of the last remaining sort of mega herbivores. The forest elephants are extremely important in their environment, as up in Central Africa, in the sort of real tropical forests, they actually act as seed dispersers and forest bulldozers. Not too unlike our African elephants here, our savanna elephants. And they'll sort of eat over 100 different species of fruit in the forest. They'll trample bushes, as they do here. They'll knock over trees. They'll create their own trails and their own clearance. And therefore, their sort of ecological impact up in Central Africa, or at least that belt, affects the tree populations, and it's said to affect the carbon populations as well. There was an interesting study about the fact that the forest elephants are in decline and what that will do for the carbon policy. So we have a lot of elephants here, of course, we see them, but they're still listed as vulnerable. We're just very lucky in the numbers we see here. And of course, Taylor was struggling to even think how many elephants would be in Pridelands. We have lots of... Look at that one jumping in the other one's back, Simon. I love it when they do that. Yes, but you're asking, how do they get so much energy from grass and leaves? Just like all, or a lot of some of the biggest and largest animals we have on land are all herbivores. Giraffes, elephants, rhinos, chimpanzees, even your really, really big antelope like your eland, all very large animals, buffalo, all herbivores. They have a special sort of way of extracting amino acids from the vegetation, which allows them to build protein. So they're able to grow big and strong. But the herbivores are definitely the biggest animals that we get out here. They don't eat other organisms, they don't eat meat. They eat grass and leaves. How delicious. But elephants do vary their diet, especially in summer. It's very, very varied. It depends on season, and it also depends on the environment. Although they are having the best time, this is also extremely important to help them to cool down. It will cool them down almost with immediate effect. Just like when we're in a really hot place and we jump into the pool. It's almost instant, that relief you feel. And going back to the forest elephants, I was reading a study today and it's really, really fascinating, and they're worrying about the loss of the forest elephants. They're in decline, and due to their sort of impact on carbon and knocking over, without these sort of forest elephants acting as ecosystem engineers, they're worried that the less carbon dioxide will be taken out of the atmosphere, because that's exactly what trees do. They remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they put oxygen back in. They are breathing for us. They are the lungs of the planet. And without the forest elephants, the less carbon dioxide will be taken out of the atmosphere. And in terms of finance, because money talks, as we all know, the studies suggested in monetary terms, the forest elephants actually represent a carbon storage service of $43 billion. That's how important they are in retaining the forest and ensuring that carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere and oxygen is pumped in. But they are facing extinction, the forest elephants. and their sort of positive effects on carbon and all the other ecological benefits and roles that they play as gardeners and architects and engineers will all be lost. There's a big worry up in that Central African belt, the loss of forest elephants. And of course, the decline is due once again to humans. Once you lose a species, there's no going back. Okay, Simon and I are going to continue bumbling Buffelshoek and head on to the next dam.
Thanks, Lauren. Good luck checking all dams, eh? See what we found now here with these impalas. Since the weather's still not actually really allowing them to get mobile about feeding and stuff like that, so they find themselves under a cover which is a shade, and they were able to probably get mobile when it's cooler off, I believe. And now they're going to just chill under the shade because the temperatures are far high, too much for them. So they have their young one with them. The only reason they stick around is making sure these young ones also gain access to run immediately if they ever are attacked. They can run, but they're still too young. They cannot run as their parents do. So we're gonna move on, search around the western boundary, see if we find anything.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ambient Pinda, where, just as we suspected, in fact, they were actually lying in the road, so we couldn't miss them, is that part of lions that we spoke about earlier. The youngsters now, you can see, quite energetic and playful, all encouraging the two older lionesses lying, one's on the very far right-hand side, and the other is busy getting groomed by one of the youngsters, encouraging a little bit of movement, and they were actually getting quite agitated. Have a look at how playful these ones are. These five compared to the other five cheetah that we were with. They won't lie. There's literally ample space everywhere out here to lie, but they will lie on top of each other and are full of energy, just making the most of these cooler conditions. It was a hot morning and afternoon, so disappeared into a thicker, a more sheltered area, but now that it's cooled off, out in the open. And yeah, you never know. If we spend a little bit of time with them, if something happens to come their way, we might be in for a bit of luck with them this afternoon. But lovely to see them. You know, typically lions can spend the majority of their day fast asleep. But this lot now, quite a bit more active, at least than the cheetah, and a lot more active than when we normally see them. See the older lioness is now also doing a little bit of, we actually so spoiled for choice here. The older lioness is grooming, yawning, showing signs that they're starting to get a little bit more active. Youngsters on their backs playing with one another, grooming themselves, each other. These are all very, very positive signs for us this afternoon. and just as one or two of the youngsters stood up, it definitely looks like they could do with a meal. Belly's not quite as full as those cheetah that we saw a little bit earlier on, but an amazing view out here, that they have such a lovely vantage point looking further to our east, where we are often greeted with the sunrise every morning over the coastal sand dunes. Just beyond that, the Indian Ocean that I think Owen is about to show you now. False Bay in the distance that you can see as well, but that coastal sand dune that eventually takes you to St. Lucia is what these lions are all taking in this afternoon. A magnificent view, and yeah, just the cooler conditions I think they are extremely grateful for. Windy as well, they've got the wind blowing into their faces from down below, so if anything is down in this thicker vegetation below us, be it nyala, maybe warthog, or even impala that are getting a little bit more shelter from the wind, they'd have a good chance of seeing that. Have a look as and I'm chasing you around now. This youngster grooming, it's one of the older lionesses around. It's here. Pele, you're asking which my favorite pride of lions and Penda is. I suppose they're all quite high up there on that list for different reasons. This particular pride, because the youngsters are at the age of where they are, they're super playful and full of energy, so they'll often being quite curious and wanting to investigate everything. If you drive in, they'll look at you with their beady eyes and try and size you up and see what you're all about. So I think this pride has grown on me quite a bit. But then there's a pride of lions in the northern parts of this reserve who are also full of confidence. We haven't yet been able to film the male lions up there just yet, but that might change in the near future. And that particular pride of lions is also super interesting to watch, because they too will come to life at times of the day when you otherwise think they'd be fast asleep. Sometimes in the heat of the day they'll move around, but they are often up on one of the very permanent watering holes up there, lying on the wall up there. So really proud, and they more often than not get very vocal. The entire pride of lions will actually roar together, so that's quite something to hear and witness below. So I think between these two prides, I'm not sure. It's a toughie that you ask. And I say they were all showing signs of getting active. If you have a look at them now, different story. All sort of belly up, catching up on some rest. But like those cheetah, have a look at those ears twitching every so often. I think those flies, maybe not the same ones that the cheetahs had on their ears, but same fly around here irritating them. And quite nice to see now that lioness lying in the middle. She's quite a bit darker and quite a bit older than the one lying on the far right hand side. And that darker coat is just one of the ways in which we differentiate between the two. But from here we're going to stick it out with this pride of lions for now. We're going to head across to Andrew, who's managed to find a herd of buffalo.
What was the question about?
Thanks, mate. So we now find, for now, looks like an individual bull buffalo lying in a shed. But this is where we saw the rest of the group this morning. So they probably moved, and then if it's only one or more than, then they're still left behind in the same area. Probably because they found themselves lying in the shallow of these muddy pools for a long time, and the whole herd move there without them. But is a chance you would keep up with them, or if there's a chance that they may move this direction again, they would have hooked him up again, and you were able to follow them. He's busy now lying down, chewing cud, which it works perfect for most of herbivore species. And when they're lying down, there's a bovine, and they were able to regurgitate the cud, which is the grass that they have eaten recently. And of course, when they do that, it makes more room to that container stomach, which means in the next time you would be hungry, feels like you would eat again. Does that by the only ruminant animals. Mali, you're asking what is the buffalo lifespan, and so anything from 26, 24 between, and then also they are very much, I would say, this time of year where it's grasses, and they would succeed because there's no disturb for them, unless also understand they're in the wild as well. They may made it, they may not made it to that age. Die off just before after birth, or age of 11 due to lions or any diseases in this wilderness. So the oxpecker associates with most antelopes, bovine, most with the rhinos and the warthog, but we've seen there now what they do. They even go down in the ground, it is bird, do their own things, but at the same time, two of them are right on top of his head. What they're gaining access for insects, ticks. But sometimes if they spot danger before that buffalo spotted, and they will fly immediately, but also that buffalo stood up and wander around what is coming. So we're gonna drive around. Hopefully we bump on the rest of the group from this morning. I'm gonna be sending you over to Lauren with her bird.
I cannot believe it, everyone. I think I've just managed to tick off one of the birds on my wish list. I have never seen this species before, and I believe we have the southern Carmine bee-eater. It's not ideal that he's on a power line, but you know, that doesn't matter. Oh, look, it is. Yes. I have never seen a Carmine bee-eater. They didn't come last year. They didn't arrive as expected. And here we have one up in Vulture. Now, they're an intra-African breeding migrant, so they normally arrive here for summer. Around September time, maybe. The very, very sort of start of summer, or maybe the tail end of spring. And they'll leave in March, April. And they go back up to the north of Africa, and they're here to breed. You have no idea how happy I am right now. We see a lot of the little bee-eaters, but not so much the Carmine bee-eaters. Can you hear it? Oh, wow, there's more. There's 3. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, they're dancing in the air. This is just beyond what I could have asked for. This is so wonderful, everyone. Just like the weavers, just like the kingfishers, they're here to breed. They're fancy coloured, they're elaborate, they're here to be loud, they're here to show off. But they are said to be monogamous. And what that'll mean is that they're monogamous just for the breeding season. Monogamy comes on a spectrum. Maybe not for humans. Let's not talk about that. But for birds, it definitely does. You get social monogamy, you get seasonal monogamy, you get life monogamy. And then you get those that say they're monogamous and, well, they're not. Huh? There's 3. No, I lie. There's 4. Where are they all coming from, Simon? I can't see where they're all arriving from.
There's 5.
Ah. Drake, I'm so happy it's a new bird for your list. It's mine too. I've always wanted to see the Carmines. We were so disappointed they didn't come last year. I'm not even sure we had them the year before. Juma's not the ideal location, but the Mulwati is. You'll find that they sort of create tunnels or use tunnels that are excavated in riverbanks. So those holes that you see as you're going along the Mulwati, that's perfect for the nests of the Carmine bee-eaters. And they're here. And the European molars are back as well. Life is not entirely normal for us, but in terms of the wildlife out here, it's definitely getting back on track. Now, the sexies are very alike. So looking at an individual, I'm not sure I could even tell you if it's male or female. But the tail streamers, those really, really long sort of feathers that come out the tail. I've not got the best view from here, but you can see them when they're in flight. The males are slightly longer, but only by about 20 millimeters, really not by much. And out of all the bee-eaters that we get here, it's the Carmine bee-eaters that are the largest of the African species. You see the tail streamer? That's perfect. You can see that little part at the end. That's known as a tail streamer. It's another sort of elaborate design, elaborate fashion to attract the opposite sex. Just like the long tail of the Wida, and just like the facial masks of the weavers. I am more than happy with this. I'm obviously looking for something else for you, but this is just the best. And if you're all new to watching Wild Earth, and even if you're not new, start lists. I mean, I love lists. My mum creates a list for everything. We go shopping. Shall we write a list? Okay, let's write a list. Do we ever look at that list? No. But it's there, in theory. And so it's probably in my DNA to write lists, but I've got a reptile list, an amphibian list, an insect list, which is broken down, butterflies, dragonflies, a bird list. And it's actually really exciting to start writing down the species that you see. And before you know it, you'll have found that you've actually seen a huge range of the most beautiful species. So if you haven't started one, I completely recommend that you do. The birds are tough. Sometimes we put them on camera and nay, they are just not going to play ball. But these Carmine bee-eaters are being so obliging. I think this is the first one from Juma's side this year. Immediately you can tell they're a bee-eater by that shape of beak. If you were unsure, you can sort of look at the beak. They're insectivorous, of course, but they prefer flying insects. And what I mean by flying insect is they catch them in the air. They're aerial foragers. So they swoop down and they actually catch their prey mid-flight while they are in flight. Ian, I'm actually not too sure. They've got a turquoise, well, I'm not sure I would call that turquoise, but they've got a sort of emerald green crown, a vibrant pink chest, a sort of amber back, turquoise right at the back, you see that? Almost like the lilac breasted roller turquoise. But I don't actually know the exact number of colours. I mean, this is the first time of me seeing this bird, but I will try and find out for you, Ian. Such a satisfying feeling when you've been looking for something for so long and you find it. Just by chance, actually. And lots of birds like to sit on the power lines, and of course, as long as their feet are not touching the ground, then they're not going to get electrocuted. They're not grounding. Now, these birds, although they are very fiery in colour, they're actually known to be very attracted to bushfires, believe it or not, because they can swoop in and catch all the insects that are fleeing the fire in the air. They're quite well known for that. And talking of flying insects, alates. Alates are their big favourite, as they are the favourite of many. They love to eat up the alates. But hence the name bee eater, in case anyone was confused. They do eat bees, and they're able to sort of smash them and bang them against the perch or a tree or wherever they are, and this sort of discharges the sting and the venom. So they're very expert bee eaters. I'm going to sit here just a little bit longer, but we are going to send you over to someone else that I can't remember because I'm far too excited.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pin, everybody. This Pride of Lions, contrary to what I said, haven't moved very much at all. And I think maybe all that grooming was just from their reshuffle from where they were to out in the open. But they're all just resting for the time being, I think, savouring their energy for the evening, or at least the older lionesses are. Youngsters, there's still a little bit of movement from them, a little bit of grooming. You know, constantly looking out. Those distant rumbles of thunder are still around. And a couple of raindrops now as we sit and watch these lions. They might start huddling closer towards one another just to try and keep relatively warm now that the temperature has changed so significantly. But I think they're just enjoying the cooler weather conditions, and if it does rain on them a little bit more, you might start to see them grooming themselves, that little bit of moisture that they might get from that. But have a look at this youngster. Oops. And see how everyone pricks their head up just to see what's going on with that movement and the noise. Vital stages, these, with them playing, stalking, pouncing, tripping each other up. For one day when there are no longer moms around, for at least the young males. The young females will join their moms and the aunts in the hunt. But the young males will have to do that on their own when they eventually go nomadic for a couple of years before they look to take over a pride for themselves. Big old yawn from that lioness, and she flopped back down on her back. Legs up. Now with one of the other youngsters, and you can see there's a serious case of FOMO going on here. As soon as two start playing, the others start to get a little bit jealous, will come up and investigate what's going on. Now the third is coming to join in on the fun, on top of one another. But quite a bit more playful than the older lionesses. Another big old yawn at the back there. David, you're asking if all cats have the same number of teeth. at least 4 lions, maybe the same species of cats, yes, have the same number of teeth. As for some of the smaller cats, African wild cats and the likes, I'm not 100% sure, but definitely the same species. Super playful. And you can see some of those teeth now that you're asking about. They, like us, also have 2 sets of teeth. As youngsters, they'll have 26 teeth, but then as adults, they'll have 30 teeth, which is quite interesting. So, yeah, in that sense, they do all have the same, maybe just smaller versions when it comes to the African wildcats and the likes, just miniature versions of these ones. There's that grooming going on that you see there at the back with one of the youngsters. Like Owen said, we were promised rain at 3 o'clock, but 2 hours later it is starting to roll in. So we'll stick with these lines as long as we can. And I wonder if now that it's not starting to rain, youngsters starting to get a little bit more playful. You can see the head shake of one of the youngsters that's now stood up, a little bit of a stretch. If, you know, with the rain, obviously that noise is going to mask their movements quite well if they decide to hunt. I haven't seen anything make an appearance. No nyala for this area is quite good. Even up here in the mountains, things like kudu could make an appearance. Even scanning with the binoculars, not even heard of impala, but that's typical when there are predators around. That general game is not as abundant as normal, or as it otherwise normally would be. Have a look at that youngster on the left. Looked like it was doing that phlegm and grimace briefly, and let's see if it, whatever it smells there, if it doesn't do that again. Have a look there. Van Graan, you're asking how many cubs a lioness can have in its lifetime. Well, that obviously varies on how big the litter sizes are. A lioness will only reach maturity at about 3-4 years old, and lionesses in the wild only live typically around between 15 and 17 years old, and will have to sort of nurse and look after their youngsters until they're about 2 years old. So, you know, if anything, I'd say about 4 or 5 litters at most for lionesses. And that obviously also depends on whether or not other male lions might take over this pride. These youngsters are not theirs, so they'd obviously try and kill these youngsters, which then means the lionesses go back into estrus, and those males can then mate with them. So there are a whole lot of factors that one would have to take into account for that. As to how many exactly they have, I think that can also vary. Sometimes, you know, they only bring up one. Sometimes they have a few more cubs in their litters. So it's very tricky to give a precise number there. Amazing to see them also busy. The heads going, and the only 2 heads that you don't see moving are those of the adult lionesses. Maybe just the odd ear flick, but the rest grooming, shaking their heads now that there's a little bit of water, and that often provides for very good photography. A slower shutter speed of a lion, particularly a male lion when it's been raining, when he shakes that mane dry, would be magic. We're going to sit with these playful lions for now and see what else happens.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. once you found the large, the cascading effects down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Now we're at Big Dam, which is a very large dam, and there's a vulture, a white-backed, but there's only one. And normally when there's only one, it doesn't really necessarily mean that there's a carcass. There is also, I think it's a Tony eagle to the left, Simon. I can't really see with my binos. It looks like could be a Tony eagle. It's very dark though, almost black in color. And sometimes when they are together like that, it could be a sign of a carcass. But other than this pair, there's not much else going on around Big Dam. Now going back to the vulture, as bizarre as they are, they do look bizarre. They have a rather bald head. And it's not entirely bald, but it's for thermoregulation. So heat exchange is far easier through naked skin than it's through the insulation of feathers or excessive hair. When I say excessive, I mean that of a leopard, for example, rather than us. We have sparse hair on our body. But it's very, very easy through naked skin. So the less feathers they have on their head, they can sort of have a better heat exchange rate, if you like. And when they're climbing high up in the sky, I mean, vultures can go kilometers up in the sky and they can still see what's happening on the ground. The ambient temperature higher up is obviously cold. And therefore, they actually have what we call a ruff around their neck. You see that? It's a ring of feathers. It's an erectable ring, actually. They can erect the feathers, and it acts like a scarf, almost, just like we put on a scarf when we're cold. So they have this specialized ring of feathers, and they can actually pull that long neck. You see how long it is? Not only does it assist with getting into carcasses, they can also pull it inwards, and it assists in retaining heat. Oh, well done, Simon. Wow. You can tell that Simon follows golf balls through the air as a professional. That was incredible. It's not too often you get to see vultures in flight like that. They're heavy birds. You normally see them in the tree, on the ground, or very, very high up in the sky. That was great detail. I wonder what's been going on around Big Dam. Now, the reason I'm taking my time to sort of search the area is because it's hot. It's very, very hot. I'm waiting until there's a bit of a break in the heat and it starts to get a little bit cooler, and that's when animals will become mobile, or so we hope. And off it goes. So I don't really think anything exciting was happening here. And vultures are linked to hyenas, I guess, in that they're both scavengers. So they get compared a lot. And the vulture's stomach acid is incredibly corrosive. pH 1. And this means it can sort of digest extremely putrid carcasses that we can't even bear to think about. Those that are infected with anthrax, the anthrax bacteria, the hog cholera bacteria, even the botulinum toxin. It will blast it all away. And these bacteria would be potentially lethal to other scavengers, and yet they're not. They don't harm vultures or hyenas at all. It doesn't even affect them. I think this is a Tony. Can anyone verify for me? It looks a little bit large, and I don't know if it's just a wing position. I don't know if it's maybe a step. It's very dark. It's definitely the dark morph. It looks a little bit large to be a Tawny, to be honest. But unfortunately, I'm too far away. But if any of you can verify, do let us know. Okay, Simon, shall we begin bumbling? Continue our search. It's been a lucky day, so I think my luck is going to roll right in. Simon's my lucky charm, actually. Don't tell them. Okay, I'm going to continue my search in this area, and we're going to send you across to Andrew with some elephants.
Good luck, Lauren, again. See what we've got here. We got a breeding herd of elephants. Looks like more in the bush, but this is what we can see right now. And looking at them, how they're dealing with these ears, since actually they've been in a hot weather condition of the day today, which means later they will seek for a mud bath somewhere around. Off they go. So this is quite a nice densey bush where they might maybe spend time if there's a storage of the water stuck in one of the drainage line here, or they will pop out on the other side. Then they will be coming near that buffalo position, that single buffalo we saw earlier. Yeah, we still have a little bit of a glimpse of those because they're all scattered all over here. Actually, indeed, it is very green, and it's so surprising. I mean, seeing thicket like this, where, if I remember correctly, in the winter, what you see through inside, far from there. So you see pretty much 100 yards as you drive, but now not at all. What you see, it's all green, tall grasses that take places. That's why these elephants, they wouldn't stay actually right close to us anymore because of It's actually quite a nice dance for them to be. And what we hear, it's all sound in there. Maybe it's one of these wet areas, soft ground, where they have made themselves and they were able to spend a lot of time in those, suck this mud, pour over their body, just for all about cooling off. So we're going to carry on driving here. Hope we find the rest of the other herd coming out on the other side. And I'm going to send you over to Brightland.
Welcome back, everybody, to these lions who have shuffled around a little bit more. You see the youngster, one of the youngsters lying on the road, came to investigate us putting the ponchos on. There's still that sort of semi-consistent rain from up above. The lionesses, or at least the older one we spoke of, showing a little bit more signs of getting active now, but the youngsters, have a look, all stalking one another, watching each other, keeping close tabs on each other as they move from one spot to another, but there's always time for play. I think this one here on the right-hand side of the road is ready to pounce, but all of them actually look like they're ready to pounce. But these two here, right on the right-hand side, oops, that one got ambushed. But now with the other one who's disappeared, I think there's going to be quite a bit more, I think. It's starting to rain quite a bit harder here as well. You can see the older lioness is now turning their back to the rain, trying to hunker down, although the other's showing signs of getting more active. Have a look now at that one right at the back, walking towards the one who disappeared. I think there's going to, not if it gets ambushed before then. It's trying to stalk its sibling who walked away, but there's magic seeing these. It's so amazing to see them so playful with one another in conditions that are far more favorable for them, cooler conditions. To see them as playful as this out in the open is always a treat. And just nice to spend time with them and watch them do their thing. And if playtime gets a little bit too much, they'll start batting each other. And if it really gets serious, you might actually hear them snarl and growl at one another as well. But I think just loving these cooler conditions. Grace, you asking if all of them are females? No, the two older lionesses, yes, they're females, but out of the 5 youngsters, there are 2 males, one of which is running off on the right-hand side now, with its back towards us, and there's another one, I think, also just walking away from us. So there's two males, the 2 that are actually playing with each other now, and then the rest are all females that you see in picture here. Have a look. Comes another stalk here. Amazing how well concealed they can be when they put their heads down and ambush and stalk one another, and deadly quiet, because this rain is now masking their movements more. That I don't think that lion cub on the left hand side heard that one coming because of the rain. Gripping each other's tails now. And completely opposite, if you Yeah, and you're asking if they hurt themselves in play fights. They don't, so to speak. They at least don't draw blood, and if they do start hurting one another, they'll snap at one another and growl, or just let each other know that that's too much. But amazing to see now, the experience-wise, how the two older lionesses will keep their heads down, sort of try and brace themselves in weather like this, whereas the 5 youngsters are just fully embracing it out in the open, biting each other, playing with one another. See, I've spoken about them getting a little bit of moisture from grooming their coats now as well. Quite a bit of that going on, but one of the older lionesses now just shuffling around, also just trying to put it back to the rain. Have a look there, and when they prick their ears back like that, try and tap each other, bite each other, I suppose inadvertently can inflict a little bit of pain every so often, but only when they're a lot older, when they fight with each other, then you'd think males are or at least brothers, lion, these two now, play fighting like this. But when they're older and it comes to a lioness that's potentially an estrus, that can get brutal with each other, and that's how they often get those scars on their faces, and wounds is from each other, not just other lions. I love those black tips of their tail as they run and dance around like that after one another. Super playful this afternoon, these lions. It's actually amazing to watch. Stop and rest every so often, but then they're back up and at it. Have a look at that one stalking. Look how low it goes to the ground. Lies in wait, as it would as an adult if there's something, potentially walking its way. We'll have a look now. It's got the other one on the left-hand side, it's got its back to this one that's shuffling in the road. I wouldn't be surprised if it launches an attack soon, if the one walking up to it doesn't give it away or give it a fright. Or just nonchalantly walk up to the one that it wants to give a pounce on too. Oh, got a little bit of movement from one of the old lionesses now as well. Big old yawn. Oh, looked like it was building up to a yawn. There's too much going on here this afternoon. We're not sure where to point the camera. Not sure if you can hear the heavens above. That lioness had that cub's tail in its mouth. But watch, we spoke about FOMO and jealousy. As the one plays with mom, have a look at the rest of them all tucking their ears back, want to get involved as well. And the older lionesses are typically very tolerant of the youngsters unless it gets a bit too much, and then they'll just put them in their place. But have a look at our mom. He's also getting involved now. A big slap of one of her paws, and the cubs down and out. Mom's won this one twice now. What Choppy, you commenting on how nice and earthy it smells? Absolutely. After rain anywhere, I think you get that lovely earthy smell, and that's exactly what we're getting now. Very much welcome this rain to what was otherwise a relatively dry and hot and humid Pinda these past couple of days. But now watching on the left-hand side, have a look at that youngster in amongst that greenery, keeping a beady eye out on its sibling. The stalk is on. Have a look. Oh, and now the two older lionesses are getting into a bit of a scuffle. Have a look at that. Oh, they've stopped. Camera shy. Horse lovers commenting and saying this is the rain's making them hyper. Absolutely, it's getting everyone ruffled, and I think just excitement now that we have had some sort of rain here on Pinda. Much needed, I think, for them, just a relief from all that heat that we've been getting as well. But it has absolutely made them hyper. It's as if they've all had a big sip of something very sugary. Now that they are so busy. Have a look at the youngster now, on top of its mother, its back legs on its mom there, as it's trying to shuffle and get a grip on the neck potentially. Everyone there, you see the one on the right also on its back. There's just too much going on now. We need 2 cameras here to film the... Oh, not sure if you heard that grunt now from the youngsters, but that's them. I think it's getting a bit much. Maybe 2 of them are ganging up on one of the others. But certainly keeping each other busy. That's for sure. Lakshan, you're asking if the male lions ever teach the youngsters how to run a pride. I think just from experience and watching, they certainly pick up on traits from the other lions. I'm not sure if there's a manual that they go through with one another, but they certainly do, pick up on lessons. But it's more the lionesses that teach them, those invaluable life lessons of hunting and protecting themselves and each other. The males are often off on their own, patrolling territories and maintaining territories themselves. So for quite a bit of the time, like now, they just aren't around to teach them lessons like this of submission with one another. So they would teach them lessons, but I don't think lessons like the lionesses would. And all of this expended energy, I can imagine the youngsters are going to be quite tired. They might just flop back down at some stage, but now that one of the older lionesses is up, if her and the other mom decide to get up and move, they'll all have to follow suit, but they'll probably start lagging behind, flop back down, and must try and muster up the strength to keep up with the moms. Again, maybe if they haven't had a bit of or a lap of water for a while or a drink, now that little bit of grooming that you see going on is one of the ways in which they'll get a little bit of moisture. That's very cute. The youngsters now seem to all be settling down. So starting to rain quite heavier now, so we might have to duck for some shelter. We're going to head off to Andrew.
Good idea to look for some shelter, but it's rained. And now I'm planning to make my way back to the male leopard to see if he's still there, which is now getting slightly much cooler. If it does happen that he's still there, then we'll spend time with him just to see how he begins his movement after this hot that has taken place during the day, the whole day. I saw there he was just flat though, and there was actually not enough shade, I think, but he loves it, I believe, because it looks up. He didn't move to a big shade. It's because, it was tall grasses that provide a beautiful shade around him, so he loves it. It's going to be very much interesting just to see when he's mobile, whether he's going to go north or whether he's going to go to Galago Pen, which is not far from here, where he is right now. came from the west, which is Aratuza boundary with Zimbabwe out there. This is where he came from this morning, so I believe he won't return now there until he completes his journey. So the journey is going to make sure he patrol his territory, respray over and over again. Maybe a little bit of a hunt as well. Back there was a lot of parlors where if you decide to change directions, move in that directions, then he's got a game to hunt. Then it's far, because then it's actually west from here where we saw these impalas. Around quarantine also it's quite a lot of game. They're more likely to find beautiful impalas in that open area. Still around, so I'm gonna see how we're gonna do this stuff. So we're gonna move. Okay, cool. And he's still around, he hasn't moved yet. Riley, I think I'm 100% agree with you, and he's an allergent, and when you say it's your favorite, and I love him as well, so he's a cool cat though. Apart from where we saw him this morning, moving along that road and smoothly just walked past our vehicle this morning. So he's so cool. He's very much comfortable cat out here. In the older days, we used to have leopards. Those, you won't get any near them. They would run away. Keep distance away from their vehicles, any of the presence of vehicles. So there it was about to trust, and back there it was probably less of the game drive vehicles and things like that. And we still see those leopards like that. Sometimes they don't stick around near cars, they're all shy, run away. Arnold, so you're asking if all leopards in Djuma are related. A lot of them related. Only apart from Shidulu, the female that she came from the west, usually around Ratuza property, boundary with the Simbambilo on the western part, sector of Reservia. And at Sibui, where she usually south, in probably boundary from Malamala, but she do come to Djuma regularly and go back that way. So, but the rest, we talk about the females, they're all related. It's where we start to talk from Ekarula, the female that she bring all of these leopards that we see here, females, Tandis, which is she's still around, the Lamba, which is Tandi's daughter, she's still around, Kuchava, Tandi's daughter, which is she operates in the Far East, so more than likely to be related. So I'm going to reposition here, go back to where we first started to see him.
Yep.
Thanks so much, everyone. And I'm also happy to see him. I'm glad to hear that. And he looks healthy, though. And he's still in good condition. Ria, so you're asking if there's any leopard close by. That I'm not sure. I know this morning was we follow on a female. The reason we bump on him on the road, we were on trekking the, we believe it's the Lamba, the last position she was moving from. And then she cut towards towards the quarantine area where it's western side of Djuma, camp itself. But yeah, we find him, so we didn't carry on there. It happens there's another leopard around here. But I cannot tell how far each other can be far or nearby though. Asking if he can still climb trees. Yes, he would. So climbing trees, it's always an energy. So they use the claws, which claws always attractive and so sharpening always. So there is nothing to do with the age or anything. So he can climb trees very well though. He's still very good in condition, as you can see. And he's not sick, no sign of a sick that probably taking place. There is no sign of skinny condition. So yeah, he would still climb trees. When we talk about climbing trees, it's the only way of them staying safe from the big cats such as the hyenas. So I'm going to be sending you over to Lauren. I'm going to be staying in Vulture.
Oh, Tingana can still climb trees, so he can. Oh, he can. Now, we've done one loop, but it's still quite hot. So I'm going to keep looping and looping and looping until I can no longer loop and it gets too dark. I'm determined. I'm being very stubborn today to find what it is I want to find. But we're at Big Dam, and I am going to give you a view of it. We're very close to the Mangilesi border or boundary, whatever you want to call it. And we get wonderful signal up here, which is great because a lot of different species cross over. You'll get cheetah that come in and cheetah that cross out, leopards that come from the Mangilesi area that we're not familiar with that cross in and out. So it's a wonderful sort of area to check. It's a high population of jackals as well. But I'm going to just turn around a little bit and give you a view of Big Dam. Now, I know the Talamatis are not too far away, so if I really am possibly not successful, we will go and visit the Talamatis. They went all the way down, almost to Cheetah, and they're back in their home in Bufalsuk, as all the landowners like to say here. They like it when the Talamatis are on their home turf. Why they're pushing so far down south? Well, because they can. They're meeting resistance. It's as simple as that. There's no resistance, there's no odor fences telling them to keep out. So they're wandering, they're going in search of food and seeing how far they can really push those territorial boundaries. Okay, I'm about to jump onto this dam wall. Priscilla, I have no idea. No idea. We're only in the northern sector of the Sarbi Sands, and we can only traverse a sort of even smaller proportion of that. So we're only in the northern part, and we can traverse 5 properties: Djuma, Cheetah, Simbambili, Bufalsuk, and Torchwood. So for the whole of the Sabi Sands, I have no idea, Priscilla. I am sorry. I imagine a lot. We only do a very, very small section. Okay, there's a little hippo. Simon, am I going to blind you if I... Okay. I don't want them staring into the sun. There's a hippo. This is Big Dam. We're going to show it to you all. And there's a little calf here as well. Oh, there's lots of hippos. All popping their heads up from underneath. Now it's 6 o'clock here in South Africa, so that means it's slowly but surely starting to get cooler. And that's exactly what we want. The cooler it gets, the more mobile animals get. If Tingana's anything to go by, then, well, you know, I don't think he's moving very much at all. Isn't that small one? Can you see it, Simon? It's just to the left. He's just popped his head under. No, hold on. There's something very sweet about seeing what is normally a ginormous animal. And so, there you go. See, he just popped his head up. Over here. They can't hold their breath as long as the adults can. Their lungs are not quite trained. There we go. We're going to go under again. It's far more fun being under the water. But you can see this individual is standing, so that just shows you that the dam's actually not that deep. It's very wide and it's full for sure, but it's not actually that deep. Hippos normally can stand if they want to, because they have to. They have to keep themselves buoyed up. they're just floaters, really. They just float on their tippy toes and keep themselves buoyed up all day, which is a great way to save energy. If you really don't want to waste any energy, then that is the perfect way to do so. I did my hypothermia training as part of my life-saving course with the Maldivian police force, and it was not easy. We had to stay in the water at midnight. Yes, and although it's the Indian Ocean, when you stay in a body of water for too long, you can lose heat, and that's really what the hippos are doing here. They're just getting rid of excess heat and cooling down. But heat is drawn away from our bodies at a very rapid rate. We lose heat very quickly when we're in a liquid medium. That's why you'll find when swimming in the ocean maybe or a lake, after a while you do start to feel really cold, even although it's sunny outside, because heat is being drawn away from your body. And I did this for 4 hours. You had to float or tread water for 4 hours without any fresh water, not a single sip, and you're not allowed to touch the safety rope. You had to float in cold water at midnight for 4 hours, and that was part of your hypothermia training. Simon sees something, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Oh my goodness, Simon. How did you spot that? You're putting me to shame. Well, I mentioned jackals earlier. Here we have a jackal. Frozen in time. Hello, Mr. Jackal. How lovely. They're very small. They're smaller than the Ethiopian wolf and African wild dogs. They're very short and small jackals. They're not large, but they're nimble on their feet, and that's exactly what they want, because they normally are very cheeky and they race in and try and steal from bigger predators. And the fact that they are so light on their feet, they can manage that just fine. Now, of course, I heard there's actually a den up here for the black-backed jackals. I have no idea where, but there's lots of little puppies running around, I believe. They look very similar to a fox. You get a lot of foxies at home in Edinburgh, and they look very, very similar to that. They're not even half a metre at shoulder height, only 40 centimetres shoulder height. That's small. Oh, how lovely. Okay, I'm going to do one more loop, and hopefully we will get lucky. We're going to send you guys down to Swallow.
Angle.
All right, so myself and Craig have been working very, very hard trying to locate these sneaky little cheetah, and we want to show you how tricky it is now after the rains that we have had. Obviously from the rains, the sediment, the little particles have become tighter and closer together, so the weight of a cheetah being very, very light, it is leaving minimal amount of track. And take a look at this over here. So I want you guys to focus in this general direction and see how faint of a sign has been left behind by this sneaky and lightweight little cat. There is the front toes. That's the 1, that's the 2. There's the left-hand side of the left-hand foot. That's the back pad over there. You can't even see the right-hand toe. And then there are the little claw marks. Obviously, those claws always been extended. And if we draw your attention up over here, there's another part of the track. So when it comes to tracking, obviously looking for the slightest bit of detail. We can see over there, there's the claw marks, there's the toes, there's the right-hand toe of the right-hand foot or pad, and then there's the back of this beautiful pad. So looking for these tiny little details, recognizing different parts of the track is very, very important, because now with all this ground cover, it makes stuff extremely hard. And finding partial pieces, even just the claw, to give you an indication of where this animal has gone. So if Craig can give us a view, look how much ground cover there is to deal with right now. Plus the sediment being very hard is making it extremely difficult. And take a look here, there's another little sign left behind, right over there. So understanding the general shape of the track, obviously what little signs you can pick up or little clues left behind, is very important when it comes to you being an experienced tracker. So from these slightly obscure ones, we're going to show you a nice, fresh and very clear sign. So this is more than likely the sub-adults over here. It's mom and I think 3 or 4 young sub-adults. So come with me over here. Let's take a look. So slowly going, and obviously looking ahead is the most important thing when it comes to looking for these sounds. Let's go a little bit further. There should be another one over here now. There we go. Look at that. And that's a clear one. You can see by size as well, we're looking at about, this is quite a young individual. These tracks would be at about 10 to about 12 centimeters in length. You can see with my finger, that is my measuring tool. So that's around about 10 odd centimeters. And this is a sub-adult here. So a very beautiful track. You can see everything left behind. Main pad, toe, 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 and then look at those beautiful claw marks. And obviously toes is giving us direction, just like our toes, that gives us direction. And you can see the track set of here. Here's one track and there's another track over there. So it shows this animal's walking very slowly, very comfortably. And from the track sets that we've been following, it actively looks like these guys have been hunting around midday today. Obviously with the cool prevailing conditions, these cats have been moving flat out. Oh, we've got Bradfield Swift here. And there's some swifts above us over here. It's a little bit tricky, but Craig's going to do his best to show you guys. Swifts, yeah, it'll be common swift, Bradfield, and there might be no little or white-rumped here. You can see the long tails, obviously very tricky. But as I was saying, how they're moving here, you can see how they move a little bit and they get to a bush and they're actually using cover. So the cat coming to the left-hand side of the bush and physically stopping. So it's showing that these cats are actively hunting, and hopefully we can catch up quick enough to see something. And I mean, they are going straight through. So it's really difficult at this point in time, but along with Craig following behind with the vehicle, taking our time and making sure we're doing it right first time, because you don't want to come back on a set. And it's a remarkable ability, something that we used to use back in the day to obtain food. It's an ancient and beautiful art. Victor, do certain animals alarm call, I think was the question. Yes, if we had to get close and I hadn't picked up on a kudu, we are a threat. A kudu would definitely give an alarm call straight away if it sees me on foot. It'll be this deep, very dark, almost like tummy bellow, like a bark. And that also notifies all the other animals. Ooh, do animal alarm calls assist me when I'm tracking? Absolutely, that is like gold. Because animals, especially antelope, alarm call when there's a predator within the area. So if there's an animal that's alarm calling, we move after that. That gives us a sure direction of where we need to go. And where we're going to go right now is to that dune over there. So myself and Craig are going to backtrack. We're going to get to a cut line and we're going to go slightly west, and then we're going to move north to see where these tracks cross over the road. And that gives us obviously direction of where we need to go. More than likely these cats are sitting on top of that dune resting, and obviously using the dune as a beautiful vantage point. So sitting on top there, scanning for available prey, and hopefully we can get lucky. But look how beautiful it is here. Take a look at this, folks. In the mixed, tangled mess of the arid savanna, obviously very, very green right now, but what a privilege it is.
Perfect. There you go, Simon. Just landed right in front of us. A roller. We're still on the search. Oh! Birds, why are you being so uncooperative today? We had little bee eaters for you earlier, so you could make a comparison with the Carmine. And we had some Widas, but nope, Mimi. So I'm still looping. I'm afraid. Looping and looking, as one likes to say. But it's actually very sort of fulfilling. Traversing a new area. This is the first time I've ever driven this road. It's very thick. I mean, the grass, I'm touching it with my hands here. It's very, very long. I would be surprised if you could find any animals in this long grass, but we're still trying. It's also strange driving an area that you don't recognize. I've been driving for 2.5 years. You could almost do it with your eyes closed. When you're driving an area, it sort of brings you back, makes you aware. You've got to try and learn the roads very areas that you're going to recognize. Learning the roads in the middle of the bush. It took me a long time. I remember the days James Hendry used to get very frustrated. What road name is that? Yes. As long as you've got your sense of direction, you're fine. As long as you know you're heading south, you're all good. Okay, everyone, I am going to keep bumbling. It's getting nice and cool now. That sun's getting lower, which brings a little bit of relief to us and hopefully to all those hot, sticky animals as well.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So our legend, Tingana, now is up. I'm not sure what he's seeing here. He's on top of the mound, but looking down, very much interested on whatever it is. Claire is saying he could be looking for the scrap hair. Yeah, could be one of those. You're right there, because they sometimes they use brushes, thicket to hide for a day. Those scrap hairs, only come out when it's dark. But you can tell that he's really or heard something that is not too sure, or they have a good sense of smell as well. So maybe you already know what is in there. I seen him once a while ago. He does that, so Justin, you want to know what's my memorable leopard sighting? I know we don't have Mvula anymore, so he was, and only the day he killed the warthog right in front of me, that was something else. But this is before Tingana came into this area that time. So we watched all the hunt take place. It was the early morning. So he knew that probably was some warthogs in that mound. So he waited until there is a good time for them to come out. So the mother managed to move out, and the second one, but then the third one get caught. So, but it was very difficult for him, so he didn't actually kill it immediately. Since this warthog, they have very much of the windpipe, it's covered with a lot of muscles, so there's no proper neck on these animals, so it's not easy for leopards to suffocate. They eventually killed it. So like I was saying, I seen him does that. So he one day Linda, so he asking how old is Dingan. So his age range anything from 15, 16, I think, somewhere there 16 years old. So he's trying to make sure he doesn't make a lot of noises. But now, just gonna see if maybe you wanna try to reposition, take another angle there to have a look whatever he's staring at. Jen, you're very right though. They look like a statue animal, especially right on top of this mound. So he's an experienced, full-grown male. He's seen a lot of situation of, hunting where he's been passionate enough, and on top of that mound, hoping for something when he come out of his holes, or those mongooses, those scrub hares, and if that maybe is the reason he's there for, smell something that is inside for sure. He would stay here until late for it to come out. Lee, you're asking if I ever seen leopard catch a tortoise. I think it was a quarantine. Actually, then it's not actually easy work there for leopards to get through that shell. So all they do, they has to spend a lot of time biting it off. And sometimes impossible, especially if there is a fully grown tortoises. If the small one eventually, even though it takes many of hours, but eventually you get hold of these legs on the side and pull them off. That's a lot of work. He's not worried about the birds calling on the background because they're calling probably because of him. He knew that. Sandra, you're right. You know, this is mighty true that brings a lot of joy to your heart. I mean, seeing the leopard posing on top of the mound, and then now see it's getting slightly cooler for that animal to be able to move around about. So I agree, it's actually brings a lot of joy. But apart from that, they're so beautiful animal there. So if it's definitely something that is in the hole somewhere that you knew, if it's a day animal, you'll rather spend maybe the whole night, wait there until the next morning. I've seen leopard does that though. So there's a lot of night. But only if those warthogs, more especially day animals, that they won't come out at night, so that animal has to wait. But aim on the entrance. There's the sunrise, and he knew that something's going to come out there. And this is how they succeed. But after waiting for that long. That was a second vehicle that was watching from the other side, probably trying to reposition. I agree, everyone. It's actually very good timing coming to spend time with him in these sun going down, which is going to be soon, but you still have a brilliant light to keep these visuals clearly. So I'm going to stay put here with this beautiful Tingana. I'm going to be sending you over to Tswalo.
Alrighty. While going on there, we found a fresher or a better set of tracks crossing the ones that we were tracking. And so we diverted and voila. Lovely. Makes my heart very happy that we've got something to show you folks. This is Mother and Two here. And you can see it's a cat that has been viewed before because of its very relaxed behavior. There's certain individuals on Tswalu that you would not get close to them even if you tried your hardest. But a lovely sight in the mix of all this green grass. And those two cubs looking very, very healthy. See, Mom is looking around. This is a very favorable area for cheetah, and especially for prey, because south of us over here at about a half a kilometer there's a watering hole. And so animals are drawn to the water, and this is where potential prey could cross her path. And if you take a look in the background there, she has got lots of available cover. Obviously, element of surprise for a carnivore is very important. If you don't have element of surprise, you're basically going to have a very, very slim chance of catching up to a fleeting antelope. What a beautiful scene. Wow. So we're hoping for a springbuck. That'll obviously be a very high prize item for her. Hence obviously they go for small to medium size antelope because they're lightweight, lack of huge muscles, small teeth, small jaws. So springbok or steenbok or duiker, or an antelope of young. So young oryx or young wildebeest would be perfect for her. Getting some cool screenshots. Great to hear that. Our hard work has paid off. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. So this is what it's all about, is leading up. It's really exciting, being on a vehicle or watching it, just like you folks are with us now. The lead up to eventually finding an animal. But I find it very exciting, the tracking and picking up all the signs and following up, and eventually having the luxury of viewing these beautiful and endangered species. It is a real privilege, I must say. Oh, that male looking very angry there on the right. It's one male and one female here, if I'm not mistaken. The siblings. I'm doing a bit of grooming, and the cubs obviously using Mom as a bit of a barrier there because the wind is coming from behind us straight towards them. Wow. Tiny little head on a very long streamlined body.
Looks like she's going to get up soon. Bit of grooming, yawning, stretching, and then hopefully we have movement. I think what we're going to try and do to give you guys a better view, what I'm going to do very carefully is that I'm just going to try and get on the other side of them. There is an old 2-track here that I'll use. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. So obviously coming to the sighting first, you just want to give the animal the respect that it deserves and it needs. So coming in and just understanding what's going on, because these animals are doing what they need to do, and they have, the viewing of vehicles every now and then. But just making sure that you're keeping respect to a very high degree, that is the most important thing. Now that I've seen that they're relaxed, there's no injuries, they're not actively hunting, now I can start moving around and getting a better position for us. Oh my word, look at this. Fantastic. So the female within this little sibling group over here, the female had a bad injury a couple of weeks ago, and it was her right rear leg that was injured somehow. Obviously injury with these high-profile species is an uncommon thing, and how much physical force they put onto their body is tremendous. I don't know how we don't see more cheetah, with broken limbs or fractured limbs, but we'll see when she gets up, because I would love to see on how she's doing. Her body condition looks great to me from here. If a cheetah or an individual was really injured, obviously that would detrimentally affect feeding, and obviously the feeding will affect the body condition. Mutual grooming there. Obviously the bond between these two are strong, but not as strong as if they were both brothers. In a couple of months they'll go their separate ways. But yeah, obviously grooming each other is a form of affection and just a social bond, so to say. It's beautiful. And what is my favorite thing about cheetah? I would have to say, that is actually a very good question. I would have to say it would be the activity. If you take a look at the general activity, look at Mom's head there. The activity of cheetah I really enjoy. I mean, lions are lovely, but they tend to be quite snoozy for a very large portion of the day, where cheetah are, for me, one of the most active larger cats. So I'd have to say the activity is their nicest thing for me, and their appearance is just absolutely beautiful. Oh. Great, look at this. Give Mom some love. See how that tail is designed. It's not round. Look at Mom's tail there, how it's flattened from left and right. Obviously that is a very important steering tool when these cats are at high speed, to keep them in balance while they're chasing their fleeting prey. Look at that, how it's flattened like a rudder. Very strong, very muscular. And I mean, the turns that these cats take is just mind-boggling. So that tail works like a counterbalance. And obviously those extended claws that you can just see there on her hind foot work great to keep this cat on track. So looking at the age of these cubs, this female would be coming into estrus very, very soon. So you'll find that if males do find her, they would try their utmost hardest to woo her in the correct way. And obviously it's something, if you look at across the board, it's something that's very rarely documented, even into this day and age, is the general mating behavior of cheetah. We can tell you step for step with lions and leopards, but with cheetah it's something that's seen every now and then, but very, very poorly documented. It's like a grooming, cleaning session going on here. Sure. Some thunder in the distance, far south, so you can just hear this rumbling sound from thunder. Oh, and they're purring. These cats are obviously part of the purring cat family. Luna, why don't female cheetah form coalitions? So for females, it is a bit more of an advantage to be by yourself. You're a bit more sneaky, you're a bit more concealed. As in where males, the driving factor to find a mate and then obviously spread its genetic value is a very, very strong driving factor. So if you're a young male and you have a young male partner or sibling, you're in a better stand of doing that or achieving that. So if you look at lion prides, they're also they've got a better foothold on things if there's multiple individuals. Whereas in females aren't worried about that nonsense. They're just worried about their good health. They're worried about, looking after the young. And so being by themselves, I think, is a little bit better as an advantage for them. If there was multiple, they would be seen easier from other individuals. So I think it's definitely, when it comes to reproductive strategies and what they achieve, what they want to achieve. Great question. I guess females would also have a stronger foothold, but I think they just enjoy the solitary life. You can see the structure of the individual that's sitting up. You can see how round and very strong his face is. That is a male there. And the one that's laying down is the little female. You can see her face a little more petite, a little more slim. Looks like he's taking initiative as well, which is very important at this stage, that they do take initiative and they do actively get involved in this hunting activity. Because if they don't learn these skills now, it's not going to be good for them in the long run. Unbelievable, look at that. Unfortunately, for their sheer beauty, they are highly sought after for the pet trade. So in certain parts of Africa, they are unfortunately hunted, even considering they are an endangered species. But then people find it, I don't know what they find in that, taming and having a cheetah. Wow, she's hungry. Can you just get onto the female, Craig? Look at this. Look at the mother's stomach here. Craig's just going to get onto the oh, sorry. Look how her tummy tucks up into that back hind leg. She is very hungry. We're going to stick with these cats for a little while, but we're going to send you over to Lauren at Djuma.
We have the Talamatis walking right towards the car. We've just bumped into them on the road. They're going to walk right by us, I think. Unfortunately, I didn't get lucky with my other search, but it leaves a lot of promise for tomorrow. Simon, I'm just going to pull out the way a little bit. I don't want to block the entire road. We literally just drove into them. Of course, we knew they were in the area, but let's just give them a little bit of space. Hello. How lovely to see you. Oh, look at the wounds on the leg. I think this one's the one that We've seen previously this lioness. She looks like she's healing though. Look at them all just coming down. Apparently they've been looking at impala for the last little while, so they're hungry. They're definitely in sort of alert hunting mode. Wow. Hello, Talamadis. You're going to choose to come right to the vehicle, aren't you? That's why I moved out the way for you. They're coming right past the vehicle. This is incredible. So I'm just going to sit really still and stationary. I'm going to keep talking. This boy's getting extremely big, aren't you, boy? They're having a good old smell of the car. There's nothing quite like lions walking past you, that's for sure. They are so much bigger than leopards. So much bigger. Hello, good evening. It's lovely to see you have blood on your face. Yes, you do. What did you kill? I've got the Ngala here on the road. Thank you. She sees something, she hears something. They've all got blood on them. Every single one of them, but they don't look too full. So maybe they killed something small. Maybe an impala. For all these hungry mouths, it's not going to feed them all. Look at them. This is the one with the missing tip of the tail. Now I can breathe. How was that for you, Simon? Are you breathing back there? Okay, Simon's alive. I think we've got more coming. Lions are very habituated to the vehicles. As long as you sort of stay still, sudden movement would not go down very well. And just keep talking. They can hear me talking from all the way over there. So there's no point in sort of changing the way that I'm speaking or my tone. Lee, yes, I do. I don't know why this one's running. Yes, I do make eye contact with lions. I know that many sort of say that's exactly what you should not do. But because I'm on the vehicle, they don't see me as a mammal or a primate. So we're going to just keep talking and just not move. They don't see me as a threat. All of these lions have been used to seeing the vehicle since they've been cubs. Oh, there's another one. This lion train is never ending. And they sort of see the vehicle as one. They're aware of your presence on the vehicle. I firmly believe that. 100%. But they don't identify it as the same creature that they see when you step off the vehicle, if that makes sense. A lion, a leopard, dogs, hyenas, a cheetah, elephants, all of these animals all look you directly in the eye. They know exactly where to look. They know where your eyes are. So how come? How do they know where your eyes are? Oh, we're still not done. My goodness. But yes, Lee, I do look them in the eye as long as I'm in the safety of the vehicle and we're reading their body language, we position correctly. Vehicles have been viewing these animals since they were cubs in the Sabi Sands for such a long time. They're all just habituated. They could easily just change direction or move out of the way if they were threatened or disturbed, or really not over the moon that this vehicle was here. But they're not. They're so accustomed to it. Look at this boy. He's getting his hair under his chin. They've definitely had something to eat, 100%. Okay, I think that was the entire pride. Let me just do a little look behind. Yeah, we've got enough space to do a U-turn. Well, what a moment. I'm going to try and keep up with the Talamatis as long as I can.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest. There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we come into you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Yes, and we are mobile. We are mobile directly due north. The little female here is the individual closest to us, and you can see her hind left hip is not moving like it should. It's not moving like it should be moving. You can see how her bum kind of sways, and she's kind of putting her foot down shorter on her stride. A little bit of hip showing there, which is not too much of a concern. Doesn't look too bad. But she's definitely hurt herself somewhere along the line. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that just comes right. Her body condition's great, but Mom must be doing a phenomenal job at just keeping these two going for now. And this is the point where they need to be actively hunting with Mom. This is where they're learning all their true skills and techniques on how to hunt. So every cheetah we could save, we need to. So Mom right in the front there. You can see how she moves a couple of meters, stops, and then scans. So these cats are hunting right now. Ian, do cheetahs ever go up trees? To scent mark, yes. I've seen cheetah numerous times going into trees to scent mark. If you think about the scent being higher, it is then traveling further. and then jumping onto social weavers. We've seen that a few times here on Tswali, where they are jumping up there to scent mark, but then also to do a bit of a scan, to scan the distance. But climbing into trees generally is not a very common thing. I've seen it a few times, and then also to evade predators. I've seen cheetah scale up into trees to get away from wild dogs and as well as lions, but not as common as leopard and lion to be up in a tree. Just for those two, scent marking and then a bit of advantage. But what we're going to do is we're going to move slowly, just obviously keeping distance at the correct distance, just keeping correct distance, and just ensuring respect is given to these individuals, because obviously they are actively hunting now. We do not want to be any disturbance. And this is also where we need to be scanning for any prey as well. So if we see something, then we need to switch off vehicle, and then just see what pans out. What a privilege it is to be moving with cheetah like this, in an environment like this. It is really something to behold. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a wider path here. We're going to get an angle on them instead of following them right behind them. Let's do this over here. She's also changed direction. Very careful. So obviously if we hinder her, we hinder her cubs as well. There she's moving. Sorry? She's running it. It's just the young male chasing up after her. Can you see the female there on our left? There we go. So she's ambling along. Seems like okay. And I really hope that comes right. So Debbie, good afternoon. I hope you're watching. Finally we get an update on her. And let's see where they're going to go. So sight would be the main sense that they'll be using to pick up on prey. They could also use smell as well. But we're going to continue following slowly, but we're going to send you over to Andrew. That's got a beautiful scene.
Thank you very much. Look at this sky we got back there. This is all our sunset for this evening. But all you see in this dry wood, it's a warbeck eagle perching there. It's probably about to return back to that nest, which we're not far away from here. That nest, just the south of Gary Dam. Funny, you're right indeed. It's a beautiful silhouette there of this warbeck eagle. But it's all about the last hunt before it's over too dark for them to be able to do it. all birds always, remain in pair, male and a female. During a hunt, one would move differently, but they will probably rejoin again, especially this time of a day when light is getting less and less. And also migration bird. They come in here when it's wet for their own benefit or feed and breed. I'm going to be sending you over across to Lauren with the Bride of Lion.
Simon and I have also been enjoying the sunset. The Talamatis also have been enjoying this moment. They're all grooming, cuddling, lots of interactions between individual members, but it looks like they might be getting mobile again soon. I've had a look at them all. Most of them have got blood on their face. They've definitely eaten something, but as to what, I'll never know, and their tummies are not full. So I did hear on the radio that they were looking at some impala, but then I didn't hear the follow-up, so I don't know, maybe they did actually go for an impala after all. And we'll stay with them as long as we can, but once we lose light, sadly we don't have IR at the moment, so we'll have to leave them. But we're spending far more time with the Talamatis these days. I haven't seen the Inkahumas in so long. Andrew had 2 of the Inkahumas the other week. They popped on to the southwest corner of Juma. But other than that, it's the Talamatis. It could be a permanent shift, it might not. Nothing ever got... Is that effective, young man? It doesn't look very effective. Okay, it is. That's fine. Just checking. The sort of 3 strapping young males that came in recently, nothing's also been heard from them. They came in from the Mangiletti side, which is up north, and they came down south. And although they're far too young to be setting up shop, to be claiming a territory, they were definitely exploring the land, that's for sure, silently. But I've not heard an update on those young boys. But it's been since that moment that, whether it's related or not is possibly completely unrelated, but it's been since around that time that we've started to see the Talamatis a lot more. And they never used to shift far down south as Chitwan and Annette's. That's very far south for the Talamatis. Torchwood, they were very close to the Torchwood Pride the other day as well. And of course, all of these prides move around one another. It's like one mobile jigsaw puzzle. But still, their territory has shifted quite substantially. I remember we only could view them from the boundary line when we were not allowed to cross over into Buffelshoek. Gone are those days. When you see flat lions like this, you really, I personally forget how large they are. You're so used to spending time with the cats out here. They are so large. Especially since we're used to seeing little petite leopardesses like Tandy, who's tiny. lionesses. Outweigh, they're taller, so much bigger than a leopardess. I think we're deciding to move now, one by one. You always have the slow coaches at the back, but no one likes to be left behind. They will follow. Riley, you've got it's only 5 female adults. Only 5. And the rest are actually sub-adults. So you've got 6 females and 3 males. And the males, absolutely. The 3 young strapping males, they will break away. They may even form their own coalition because they're related, they're relatives. They stem from the same NATO pride. That would be some coalition, and it would benefit them to be in a coalition with relatives because you can essentially reproduce by proxy. So even if you haven't successfully fertilized all the females that you've been mating with, you can actually, if your brother or your cousin does, you're still benefiting in some way because it's your similar DNA, you're related to them. But the females, that'll be a pride of 11. So there could potentially be a split at some point. That's normal for prides to split eventually. But whether they will or not, I cannot say. Once there's too many in a sort of collective, herd, a pride, a pack, they can split. It's not sustainable. Too many mouths to feed. And we've got a vehicle up ahead, I'm afraid, so we're not going to be able to maneuver around right now. The vehicle's also stuck behind the lions. A little bit of traffic here. So I'm not sure we'll be able to follow them anymore because we're losing too much light, but that was an incredible sighting with the Talamati pride.
Thanks, Lauren. Now we see we got it's one of the nocturnal birds over here. I do see them during the day around the waterhole where we're now at Gowrie Dam. So they're still mobile about. It's getting dark now. Probably contact flying around the watering hole here. But if you listen to the sound in the background, all this bubbling casino, the frogs. It's such a cool beginning of the evening. All frogs are shouting about. It's going to be probably shouting over the night, communicating. Nothing coming to drink here, so we're going to move around about, see if maybe we come across anything with a spotlight. Now we're going to be operating with a light.
Alright, so they have moved a little bit more further north. It looks like a mother deerest has seen something. So we are just increasing the gap between us and her, just to give them obviously the utmost respect.
And from this distance, then we can hopefully see what she sees, and then we can see everything pan out in front of us instead of us being a disturbance and a hindrance. It's just thinking in their favor. It's that young male smelling there on the right. Oh, there's a rumble in the jungle. See, Mom's still moving north. And there the cubs follow. Monotonous larks calling in the distance. Ring-necked doves. And then Kalahari scrubs far in the distance. They look so much more brighter at this point in time in the mix of all this green grass. So I'm going to wait for the female to move through there, and we're just going to move slightly up and see where we can get a gap. Okay, let's move up a little bit here, Craig, before we lose all visual. So just making sure while we are driving, just making sure in front of us, in between the bushes, that we don't spot any prey. And I would love to know what she sees in there, because I don't see anything. Okay, there they are there. Just off to the left there, to our 11 o'clock. Got it. So where they are moving towards the base of that mountain, you can just see, it's clawing the tree a bit. Cleaning the claws, stretching ligaments, leaving his scent. Very prominent behavior displayed by cats. Try and move up. Alright, we're going to try and move a little bit closer because it gets quite thick there. She's moving north and not east to where I thought she saw something. But obviously still we're going to be very careful while doing so. Also just got to bear in mind when off-roading, obviously it's a luxury that we have. Also just got to bear in mind all the little shrubs and clumps of grass. You always want to try and miss these things just to ensure you're not hurting any little animals in the process. Obviously minimizing our impact is very important. Okay, so they moved into this thick stuff right there to our right-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go on the left-hand side of them and get a view of what they're doing and where they're going. There's nothing there. Okay, I can still see them. And just come back onto the road. So false alarm there. But I like it when they walk on the road because then I am not damaging anything. Lovely. Just move effortlessly, these cats.
I mean, their normal walking pace, they can cover quite a distance on a general bout. Sorry, I didn't get the person's name, but the cheetah is your favorite out of the big cats. That is great to hear, and what a special time we can be with you right now, looking at these wonderful creatures together. So once they hit that bend there, we're going to try and move up a little bit closer. I don't know how we're going to do here with our comms, but we're going to push the limit. Obviously, we're going to try and see what they are doing. But while we do that, we're going to send you off to Juma. Alrighty, so we're going to try and move up a little bit closer on them. Let's see what they do. So they're going to move off into this valley, and unfortunately in this little valley section we're not going to be able to follow them for much further. We're going to see how far we can go here. It's very dramatic sky here on our western side. Craig's going to show us, look what's happening there. A lot of lightning. We're actually feeling a little drizzle come down. Very dramatic scenery at the moment. And with the predictions for tomorrow morning, we do have a little bit of rain that's going to touch the Kalahari soil. Lots of lightning. Wow, look at that. Think about all the energy that's happening inside those big, beautiful clouds right now. I mean, just extraordinary amounts of energy being released. And it's just all from friction. Hopefully we can catch a lightning strike there for you folks. That's where Craig is zooming in now. There's quite a lot of activity there. Wow. And this is coming in from Namibia and Botswana. That's pretty far. And we're not far away from the Botswana border. So all this dark mass stuff moving in here from the northwestern section is coming from Botswana and that of Namibia. And it looks like quite a large system. You can see how dark it becomes there in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And then just obviously the continual light factor happening, and then I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder in the background. So it shows there's a lot of stuff moving there. Wow. So I was speaking to the head of our wildlife department this morning, and he informed me that I think we're already on 240 mils. Elizabeth, beautiful rain clouds. Yep, we can never be disappointed about rain clouds in this area. We smile to the end of the day when it comes to rain. Our hearts are happy and joyous. And with that, 240 mils already, which is fantastic rain for Tswalu. Obviously the period that we have just come through at the moment, a couple of years of below average, which is not great, but is normal cycle. If you look at climatic conditions, climate in general, that is where the patterns over a fairly long period, and you go through these dry and as well as wet seasons. And hopefully, well, I'm pretty sure that we are in now a wet season this year, which is great for the life of Tswalu. very busy. So we're going to see how far we're going to go up with these cheetah quickly. But for now, we're going to send you guys over to Lauren at Juma.
We just bumped into Nsele, which was lovely to see her again. She was just sitting at the side of the road. Beautiful, relaxed, new female leopard to all of us. She's 12 years old, comes from the west, and she seems to have just set up shop here. But sadly, we don't have infrared light. We were going to give you a little glimpse of her, but never mind. She's moved back into Bufelsuk. She seems to... I was with James and Davi the day that we very first found her on Simbambili. And this appears to be the first day that she decided to cross the sort of corner and head into Bufelsuk, and she's never left. So I don't know whether she was under too much pressure in the West. She's an established female, 12 years old, got offspring, and yet she just ditched the West. I don't know if she's nomadic. I haven't spent enough time with her to say whether she's territorial or nomadic or not. And yeah, she's never left Bufelsuk since. I haven't heard her call. We've had sightings of Nsele together with Tandi, together with Tlalamba, and yet I haven't seen her be territorial, but she possibly is. I couldn't comment. I just wonder if she's maybe gone slightly nomadic. So that was rather unfortunate, but at least she's around. It gives us potential for tomorrow morning. Leslie, not at all. Dark is dark. So once it gets dark, the sort of danger aspect is not going to change. But we have a curfew here in the Sabi Sands set by the anti-poaching team. So we're actually not at night. And if we staff bumps, which we don't at the moment, we're all... If we wish to... anti-poaching team know that we're out there. They know how many people and they know the vehicle. They take it very, very seriously here, and they do a fantastic job. Any vehicle that's out with the curfew time will be questioned and stopped, and it could lead to, well, a horrible scenario. So no, it doesn't make a difference in terms of the animals. If you go out at o'clock at night or you go out at 1 in the morning, you will see more nocturnal animals at 1 in the morning. But otherwise, in terms of danger, you're still in your vehicle. You're most definitely not going to get off your vehicle at night time. I wouldn't recommend anyone to do that. But otherwise, it makes no difference. Once the darkness sets in, your nocturnal animals start to become alive, your diurnal animals are hiding, and it will make no difference. I'm not able to show you any animals, I'm afraid, but I have got my spotlight out just to check. I don't want to end up driving really fast past elephants or anything, really. Hearing them or causing a reaction. You just need to know what's around you at all times, and that's actually why I have my spotlight out. We found Nsele just sitting right at the side of the roads. So, of course, us, Wendy goes home early, so from both Simon and I, thank you, and we shall see you tomorrow.
Hi, Lauren. So, yeah, yes. Having a look at him. Thought I'll give them a space, so I haven't returned there. But last update I heard was that he was still lying on him, no change. So maybe during the midnight he will move, but if it's a really that there is something in that mound, you would actually spend a lot of time there hoping for it to come out. If there is a day animal that I have went into one of these hole there, it's probably going to delay the whole night until tomorrow morning, I think. and then whatever it is, eventually come out to what he's aiming for it to shoot out, and this is how he's going to grab it. But also, if he decided to move, or whether north across into Bevelshoek, then we know where we exactly have to look around for him tomorrow. He might maybe visit us at night by Galago Pen there for a drink if he wants to. For sure, he needs to get something. They are nocturnal, you'll probably be okay. So I'm gonna check around here. I'll bump on Lamba, maybe.
Is it just pretended to be dead? Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I? It's like that is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique Wild Earth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with Wild Earth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motsu Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all Wild Earth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
All right. We have just repositioned the vehicle. Those Cheetah have moved, unfortunately, to a spot where we don't have great signal. But we have moved into a great position to show you guys one amazing Kalahari light show. Makes me a little bit bang. Bang is scared in Afrikaans. It makes me a little bit nervous sitting here because that lightning is not very far away. And we're sitting here in an open vehicle. We are secure in a vehicle, obviously being in the vehicle with tires that are rubber. But nevertheless, still makes me a little bit uneasy. What an amazing sound. Wow. hope you folks can hear that thunder. Sunshine, yes, it is providing yet once again. It is just an endless supply of amazingness offered on a silver platter. There's a lot of activity going on. There's quite a big system coming in here. So if I'm not mistaken, I think we might even have a bit of rain this evening. It's that backdrop of the section of the Kronenberg there on the right-hand side. Craig, if you can go a little bit more to the right. I want everybody just to look at the mountain there. It actually looks like a big croissant. I call that croissant mountain. The one in the middle there now. It's the most distinctive section of this beautiful range. But with those bands, it looks like a beautiful, freshly rolled and baked croissant. Croissant. A lot of stuff happening here, and the sound for me, you can even feel it in the vehicle, that rumble. You can feel that rumble basically moving through the bodywork of the vehicle. Incredible stuff. And the power that is in clouds like that is just, for me, just very, very interesting. Imagine we could harness that power from like a lightning bolt. And taking these moments just to stop, wow, and be quiet, just be at one with things is very important. From the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us today on this beautiful live and interactive safari. Swali thanks you, and my colleagues thank you. Please be sure to join us tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari, for this adventure and this journey to continue. From now until then, I bid you farewell.
Of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.